Hey friends, it's time for Cyber Christ and Country. And let me tell you what, I'm JB, and this particular show is interesting because this guy, and what's this guy's name? M.A. Taylor. This guy's got a really great little video that he's done. Really, it's more of a documentary than just a video. A video would have been sort of thought of as sort of a 10-minute bite. But this, on the other hand, is a full-fledged director director's cut kind of video, 80 minutes long. It's on Amazon Prime as of today. So all of you who are sucked into the Amazon Prime like I am, tell you what, get out there and watch this documentary when you have time. I think it's going to open your eyes up. What's interesting is that this guy, although a little younger than me, he seems to be pretty sharp, and he was said that he's pretty interested in technology, which is why he made this, which is great. I've actually worked, lived, breathed technology for so many years that it was really relevant for me, some of what he was saying. And in essence, what he's doing with the creepy line is talking about a lot of the topics that we're talking about, aside, but pulling Christ and pulling God out of the equation, let's just say pulling Christ out of the equation. Okay, all right. Now we all believers that we are believe Father, Son, Holy Spirit doctrine. The personas of God, God being one God, and there's where that this particular channel, this particular show, in fact, comes in a little different because while he's got a lot of good points, when he starts to separate God from any assertion, then it's just going to have less effect. Now, having said that, this particular article does have a lot of powerful effect. He's talking about how Google is steering people to different results based upon Google's values. And he's like, his big thing is that you don't really know when you're being steered one way or the other because Google will basically put up a chute for you to go through like cattle. And in so many ways, when you search, you're only allowed to see certain things. So you only have a sense of what is on the radar based upon what Google allows you to see. So the point of that is that Google does this based upon their particular values. Now, the M.A. Taylor, this guy, I think he did a great presentation here, and I'm interested to see the video myself. But M.A. Taylor says that, well, he feels that the line of delineation when Google steps in should be when Google steps into politics to influence us. That's when they've crossed the line. Now, just so you know, the name The Creepy Line comes from Google executive who talked a little bit about these lines and these boundaries of them steering people into certain search results, certain ways of thinking by way of those search results, and certain ways of trying to bring people to their values. Those lines, what Google executive said is, let's just call those lines of where you are and where you could be influenced to go to. And if there's a line in between those things, Google said that they try to use or get as close to the what they call the creepy line, as close to the creepy line as possible, without crossing over. Okay, so if let's just take an extreme situation. Let's say they valued pornography. Okay, let's just say they do. I'm not saying they do, but let's say they do. Okay, just for this argument's sake. And the line would of pornography would be a naked woman. Let's just say that. Okay? So a naked woman without clothes. And so What they are talking about is going and showing you bits and pieces. First, they'll show you the ankle, and then they'll show you the knee and the leg, and then they'll show you the midsection, and then they'll show you the face, the arms, the legs, and but they will not show you what today's world thinks of as the private parts. Okay, so that would be called the creepy line for them. They would go so far as to not show the specific area of a breast or the specific area of the women or whatever male genitalia, but they would go and do just about everything up until that line. Do you see what I'm saying? So, what about another? What's a different analogy here? I mean, they could keep showing you pictures of a particular food that might not be good for you over and over and over and over again, but not actually serve it to you. Or maybe if they do, it's done through a third party. But whatever the case is, we have all these things in the world, and from a Christian perspective, they're simply God's moral, um, His moral law. Okay, you remember we have ceremonial laws that were really done away with when Jesus came and died on the cross. But then there were still moral laws. Like we're saved from the moral laws. The ceremonial laws were there to help point to Christ, but the moral laws are what we are saved from. So if we take any of the other moral laws, those are lines that we don't and shouldn't cross over. We shouldn't want to cross over. Our sin nature will bring us past those lines, actually. But what Google's saying is they want to bring people all the way up to these little creepy lines of their own and not necessarily cross over them. All right. So Google has all kinds of values that are definitely anti-Christian. Their gay, homosexual behavior support, and that's one. I mean, that's one right off the bat. You have killing of unborn children. They call abortion. I mean, that one particularly, I think, is probably number one on God's pissed off list with man. Right? He's not happy with man. Probably that would be the number one thing going down right now. Okay. Two would probably be the first thing I mentioned. Three. So, anyways, they support those things. They bring it to an issue of wrong or of women's rights because the God has used women as a carriage to steward the unborn child, and they feel that God's done that, but they feel like that's the woman. It's not the woman. It's God. God's allowed this to happen. All right. So all these creepy lines. What this guy's saying, M.A. Taylor, he's saying that what gives them the right to steer us, not Christians per se, but let's say a Democrat towards a Republican or a Republican towards a Democrat or just to their way of thinking. Maybe it's a pro-abortion or not abortion. What's to allow them to do that? Because what he's making the case is that they are in fact doing that. Google is in fact doing that. Facebook is in fact doing that. To a lesser extent, Apple, but they are. What Apple has is they sort of have a front in front of them. They actually have products that they sell that it essentially sort of legitimizes them a little bit more than Google. See, Google is sort of like a virtual type of company. Google is out there. They don't seem to sell Kleenex. They don't sell gas. They don't sell food. They just are out there, and it's almost like it's sort of to a lot of people it's sort of strange how a company who doesn't really sell product and their services by many are not really known very well, that how is it that Google is making money. They seem to be, and so they point to Google as if Google's the fall guy and the only one out there doing it. It's not just Google. Facebook also, Facebook is has a little bit better what they call goodwill in the business, okay? Because you see your friends on Facebook. Oh, or you see your grandchildren or your great grandma on Facebook, or you see the lost family pictures pop up on Facebook from time to time. And so what happens with people is they associate Facebook with the goodwill feelings, the feelings we have. When our feelings are good, then guess what? Then as the sinners we are, we just think everything's good, right? But Facebook is almost not too much different in in category or classification than Google. Google does a little different stuff. Facebook does different stuff, but they're both kind of these virtual companies who sort of take a hit from from people who are pointing these problems out because they have more virtual services. I would argue those virtual services are needed in our cyber age. And guess what? We are in the cyber age, right? But in the cyber age, Google is as necessary as Facebook is as necessary as getting milk at the store. Let's just break it down. That's just what it is. So this guy kind of pokes the Google bear and pokes the Facebook bear in this particular video, not really kind of wanting to get into Apple too much because they, like I said, they make hard assets. They make laptops, they make iPhones that are nice, and he has one, right? And they make all this stuff. And Microsoft sort of has somehow wisely gotten out of the public eye in many ways, and yet they're still the bread and butter of a lot of businesses, and and they make products that are specific for and necessary for business, and also making devices such as some of their nice laptops, um, their tablets, and whatever they're making, and they also run on all of the laptops that they aren't making. So they're seen. Microsoft and Apple are seen as that they're not these types of censorship types of roles, but yet they are. They are, and they're probably just as much at play as Google and Facebook. Twitter's not in here, and there's a few other things that are not in here. But um, Twitter has also been on the hook recently for some of their shenanigans, blocking people, just totally dumping people who have built up the social equity of like 1 million, 2 million users. And you're like, JB, what are you talking about social equity? Well, I'll tell you what, when you try to get out on Twitter and garner followers, it takes a lot of tweets. It takes a lot of like time spent on the Facebook or the Twitter or whatever to garner a crowd of support that you may be able to sell some goods and services as a way to market yourself or your product, right? So Twitter is sort of like same kind of category, but Twitter's sort of flying under the radar, so to speak, pun intended. The little tweets, they just seem like, oh, just little small things. Big mistake to think that. So I would also bundle up Twitter in the same kinds of categories as some of these. Now, so some of you may not be using social media. You may be saying, "Geez, JB, I mean, I'm not using social media a whole lot." Well, what happens is that if you're not using social media, you kind of feel like you're out of the loop a little bit. And you may have relied upon some of your older systems, the pen and pencil and the newspaper. But the deal is like Google's buying up newspapers. That's what Facebook, did, didn't they? Or was it Amazon? They're all buying up. They're all buying up different. Another one that's not on here is Amazon. Amazon as well. They're all buying up this sort of thing, newspapers and just different media companies as a way to steer your information to where they want it to go. Now, little lesson from history: the Nazi Party early stages bought up one of the major newspapers of in Germany where they were located. I forget exact location. And wouldn't you know it, that they use that as a tool to steer people's opinions and really get much more pissed off about the Jews than they were. So that's about it. That's about it. Bringing it on for landing, and I just want you to know a little bit about this. And this particular video that's out might be worth watching. The topics are central to Cyber Christ and Country because this is the thing that is really what my show is about. It's about how the big companies are, the big tech companies, they call them masters of the universe, are basically using the technology to steer politics. Not only politics, though, also Christ, also your values. When they try to bring us away from the moral values, the moral law of God, and try to get us to twist into their little way of thinking, then that's something that we have to think about. And that's why I'm here. I'm here to help bring some of this information to you so that way you can help make better decisions on whatever it may be, because you are in the cyber age. My friends, this is Cyber Christ and Country, and I really appreciate you listening. If you like it, tell us. Tell me if you have some ideas too. Love to hear about it and hear from you. Take good care, my friends.